Hey, Matt.
How'd you know it was me?
Lucky guess.
Got that knife you wanted.
Oh, thank you very much.
Any particular reason why?
Oh, well, we're about to start watching our movie for today.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No!
Let me die!
No! No! Ah!
Why can't you let me die?
Because I'm not doing this shit by myself. I'm gonna give you this back, David. But you better not make me regret it.
Okay.
Behave yourself.
All right.
Behave. So.
We watched a movie today. Night of the Widow?
Yeah, even though this movie was shot during the day.
Yes, it was.
Night of the Widow. You know what?
Damn it!
The funny thing is about this movie,
It's not the worst.
it's probably the best one we've seen.
Yeah, that makes this really hard.
It goes back again to when these movies were shot, because we do not know the order in which they were made. We're just guessing as much as we can, but something tells me that this movie was made earlier in the series because or maybe it was made later and he figured out not to use the same shots over and over again for the same fucking movie.
Now, we're going based off IMDb release dates, and it may be a bit messed up, but I know for a fact that this was made either directly after or very soon after Wicked Stepbrother.
Written by the same dude.
Which we despise.
Yeah.
So when this one rolled along, and it wasn't terrible, we were like...
Confused.
The fuck?
This is so bizarre. I seriously don't get where the disconnect happened.
Well, here, let me give them the plot real quick, and then we can get into the thing.
Alright.
Overall plot, a group of friends find out that their other friend was murdered, and they go to his house to pay respects and pick up whatever they get out of his will. But it turns out in his will, he's one of those douchebag millionaire guys who's just like, you have to find my money hidden in my mansion, or blah, blah, blah. Sucking Dakota's house's dick again.
So much. He is deep-throating the cock of his house here.
So, some of them are like, man, we should get out of here. But some of them are like, dude, he's a millionaire and he's leaving it to us. We should get that money. So they're all going around the house, and then one by one, they're all picked off by his widow. His veiled, all dressed in black woman who goes around killing them with a butcher's knife. Death happened. Turned out that the girl who was in their group of friends was actually the guy's wife. That was shrouded in mystery the whole time, who the wife was.
Spoiler.
Fuck, spoiler. But then, it turns out that she didn't actually kill the husband. The husband feigned his murder and was the one who was actually putting on this entire ploy so that the wife would be killed by one of the friends, so that they can split the money and be doubly rich without her. But then, the friend wants to kill the millionaire guy because that means splitting the money with one less person.
So the whole mantra of this movie is that greed is bad.
Greed's bad, okay.
This is the exact opposite of Wall Street here.
Yeah.
So, no. To be honest, actually, the movie... Alright, the very beginning of this film was not promising to us how it, A, started off blue.
Day for night shot.
Yeah, with a day for night shot, too. Started out blue, and there was a lot of long walking around, and the title sequence lasted a long-ass time. But after that, not only did, A, the majority of these characters all are fully dressed. That blew our minds.
They had the first guy laying in bed, and he was in his underwear.
Yeah.
And it's like, Okay,
it's like, here we go again. Even though you could buy that the guy sleeps this way, still.
And then they showed the next day, after the title finally came up, showed the next day or a week or whatever.
It was like a week or so
when
later.
all the friends were there. But the first guy they showed was like this funeral director butler guy, played by Lou Ferrigno Jr., if you know who that is, fully dressed in a suit. And then they cut to the friends outside, who are all dressed in semi-nice clothing. And it's like, did you click the right film? Are we watching the Dakota film?
Oh yeah, we're definitely watching the Dakota.
What?
But the thing, and not only that was the opening scene when these guys were first starting to talk to each other. It was exposition. It was exposition done in a relatively decent way.
When was the last time that they saw them?
5 years.
How long?
5 years.
How long?
5 years.
How long?
5 years.
How long?
5 years.
Do you get it? No? How long?
5 years.
Oh, 5 years!
Yeah, they say it a fuck ton. Just now, I'm pointing out the good elements of this movie because it's so rare that I can't. Like this
movie.
And to be honest, actually, these good elements in these movies are standard fare in most films.
Yeah, our standards.
Our standards are so low with these movies that anything that is standard we consider to be a major improvement. Remember, like, when we were watching certain films and whatnot, I was like, the best thing you can say about this movie is it's standard and whatnot. It's, I'm like, no, I'm happy for standard.
Like Dark Side of the Sun, I think, was the one. Where it was just, like, a very standard, like, romantic comedy, not comedy, not romantic.
Something.
It's a very standard sort of, like, coming-of-age story, pretty much. And that's what we said. We were like, it's very standard. But now you get to these films, and it's like, it didn't make us physically ill.
And we thank you for that.
Good job, Dakota.
And actually, this movie is also, I mean, I know I'm kind of skipping around here, but like at the same time, like this movie is also the best shot of the 1313
Oh, for
films.
sure. They actually used rule of thirds more than once.
No, and over the shoulder and multiple cutting and all that kind of stuff. Now, this movie, like every other 1313 film, was shot by Dakota.
In his mansion
In his house. And I don't know if the same editor did this movie. I didn't check if it was Benjamin Chang or not. But at the same time, this movie was much better paced, even though there's still a lot more just random walking, and there's no way in hell that these people would not run into each other in this house. This house is not that big. Dakota, your mansion is not that big.
You ever know the entire layout of your house.
I know we know the entire layout of the house, and like whenever they repeat shots or they use a shot from a different angle, that literally, like there's this one shot where it's going through the bedroom, and you see the bathroom on one side, you see another bedroom on one side, and then there's the bridge from one side of the house to the other where the staircase is, and then it cuts and it goes right over to the other side of where that bridge is, and it's going out to the exact same spot. And so
it's like, we know.
Yeah, we know the layout. If we ever wanted to steal shit from your house, Dakota, we would know how to do it.
Yep. But you don't have to worry because your furniture's tacky.
Yeah.
Had to say that. Anyway, yeah.
I'd probably take that popcorn machine, though.
It's a nice popcorn machine.
We saw that once, like, in the opening, and then, you know, in the replay of the opening and whatnot. I'm like, I'll take that popcorn machine.
Okay, let's move ahead just bullet point here, because, alright. So,
characters, they were actually characters.
Development! What is that? They did it for once?
There's actually different character designs, even though all these characters are still fucking stupid.
You had the single douchebag, you had, like, the sensitive guy, you had, Bookworm. He wasn't very bookwormy, though.
There's no bookworminess in here.
I mean, he was called a bookworm, but all he did was he dressed up in a suit and seemed to know, like... Stuff. And then you got, like, main hero guy, like the one you're supposed to be, like, the blank slate that you can relate to sort of guy. Then you got the wife, you got the Lou Ferrigno, and you got the...
You got the Lou Ferrigno. There's always the Lou Ferrigno.
You got the wife, you got the Lou Ferrigno, and you got the dead husband, who, of course, comes back at the end. All of them basically were different people. There wasn't anyone that was, like, the exact same character, just carbon copied. Like, Hercules Unbound, the three blonde...
Well, actually, and also every single character played a point in the entire story.
They did, except for Alan.
Yeah.
Alan was the first one dead besides the fake death. Not a fucking matter at all.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, actually, it didn't surprise us considering how many of these movies have complete... It's the meat. It's, you know, the people who are just there to get killed. Interestingly enough, there was there's more to these characters than any of the other films, and that's not necessarily saying much because these characters are still flimsy as shit, but they're nowhere near as bad as like Prometheus. Hercules Unbound. Sorry, Prometheus Unbound is a good play, but Hercules Unbound, all those characters, if there are any characters, were one-dimensional, let alone two.
I think a good analogy is they moved from paper characters to cardboard characters.
Yeah, there's a little bit more depth.
Good job. Stay on that track. I mean, this was obviously...
No, it's mostly air. There's something there.
See, the problem is, this film was done back in, like, 2012. Definitely. Like, even if IMDb put it out of date, it was definitely done in 2012. So the issue with that being, he's disintegrated over time. He's not learning. He's gotten worse. And that's... it's heartbreaking.
It is. I mean, and at the same time, like, you know, going back to his older films, even though they weren't exactly great, like Creepazoids, like Puppet Master 3 and whatnot, they weren't great, but they still had a fundamental understanding of the genre. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you know, even though they were, you know, too short for certain aspects, even though the majority of it was padding and all that jazz, he had an understanding of exactly what you needed in a genre film, regardless of whether or not he actually added it.
Let's talk real quick about the padding in this film. As with all Dakota films, it had padding.
A lot.
But it was much better about it.
It was not nearly as extensive.
Yes. Going back to Bermuda Triangle or Hercules Unbound, it was essentially just, okay, let's just throw in anything. Because it
quite literally
didn't matter.
None of it.
It did not matter to the plot as a whole. This one, the padding all revolved around the widow, walking slowly
just to establish that the character was there.
That's all the padding was.
I mean, and to be honest, like, they end up having a reason for that later on. So, to be honest, actually, this has the most amount of plot we have ever seen in any of these movies. Oh, yeah. And also, the twists that were taking place, funny enough, they weren't great. I mean, they weren't like earth-shattering and whatnot, but at the same time, we didn't see them necessarily coming to that degree.
We saw the first twist coming, that the one friend, with the only female in the entire movie, because it's still 13-13. You can't have more than one female.
I guess not.
Even
in Hercules Unbound, there were two female characters, except one of them you didn't see.
Exactly.
And part of me thinks that was still the same voice.
Yep. And in this one, there was a different voice they used for her widow voice.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like, you know,
you can have one on screen and one off screen. Point being, though, that twist, the first one of who the wife was, or who the widow was, that it was the no, it was who the wife was.
Yeah.
Who the wife was.
Wife
Michael.
Widow, same thing.
No, it wasn't, because of the twist at the end. How the widow wasn't the same person. I think.
Well, no, she is
so confusing.
No, she is she was his wife, and to that degree, before that it was revealed that he wasn't actually dead,
yes,
she technically was his widow.
Yes, but she never actually was a widow.
No.
But, the wife character was the one female character thing. That one was pretty obvious, and it was revealed very early on. The one problem I have with twists a lot is that they throw it in there, but they didn't give you any signs beforehand that it was a good, like, it was actually coming, because that's what I like about twists. When you can rewatch film, you're like, how did I miss this? Sixth Sense is a good example.
Sixth Sense is a very good example of how to execute a thriller and a twist intravenously, like Unbreakable, like the couple early films from Shyamalan really express that well.
But the one thing about this, though, is there was one scene where Nero, where one of the douchebag. He was the douchebag guy. He is sleeping with Michael, the millionaire, his wife, the widow. And when she comes out, you only get a back shot of her, but it's obvious that it's a girl. It's the girl that's within their friend group. It's just very obvious. That's not what made this a good point out, because that was just like they couldn't get away from it. What made it a good point out for me was Alan. When he died, he was looking at himself in the mirror, just like, oh God, I can't believe Michael's dead, boo-hoo-hoo. The girl's name is Bess, by the way. Bess comes up, or she was supposed to come up and check on Alan, but instead the widow found her, the one with the knife and the mask and all that. And Alan said, I'm alright, Bess, don't worry about me. And then stabbed like that. And it was like, you would think that it was a sign of
Well,
he expected Bess, but got the widow. But instead, he expected Bess and got Bess, just dressed as the widow.
Yeah. Oh no, actually, or at least we're made to believe that because in reality and whatnot, like she actually doesn't kill anybody. Because you would think that she did and whatnot, but at the same time, you know, it's brought up at the very end that he actually ended up killing everybody to make it look authentic. Yeah.
All right.
So like, she actually didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, so,
but she goes fucking nuts, and it's made to look like that. So she would be the what was it?
Just dead.
Well, she was the. She was to ensure the fact that the cops didn't come after all the people who actually did it.
She was the. What was it? She was framed.
Yeah.
For the murder.
Yeah.
And I want you to go off real quick on a certain fire poker.
Oh, God. Okay, there's this later on in the film where it's, you know, the reveal that Bess is the widow, and, you know, she's like, you know, now I'm going to kill you, and all that kind of stuff. I don't fucking know.
I think it's Sean.
I guess.
We're calling him Sean.
Man number 1.
Yes.
Conspirator 1.
Relatable hero character.
Whatever the fuck he is. He runs away from her and he picks up a fire poker. Now, you ever seen a fire poker? You ever seen how much damage that crap can do to somebody? Regardless if you stab someone or hit someone with it, that thing can cause some damage. Now, Bess is holding like a knife like that long. And whatnot in her hand. And she's like, you wouldn't hit me. And he hits her. Mm. And you hear this funk, boonk, and she's like, "Is that all you got?" I'm like, "All right." Now my thought there was a cross between two different things.
Okay.
And it was a cross between mild anger and mild fear, and this is why. Okay. The anger scene was like, "All right, really? Even if you are the weakest fucker in the world, getting hit in the face with a fire poker is still gonna fucking hurt."
Yeah.
2. The fear aspect was the fact that they were going to go the supernatural route.
That's what I was afraid
of. I'm like, is she going to be like superhuman or something like that? Because I'm going to get really pissed in this movie if that was the case.
She's like a lich or something.
Yeah, just fucking, like cougar cult. And like that was what I was worried about, and they didn't.
But they didn't go supernatural.
They didn't go supernatural. This is like the one movie like they don't go fucking supernatural or sci-fi shit on us. It's literally just a straightforward.
It's a straightforward thriller,
or whatever the whole
mystery.
Hell is. I don't care. You know, like the fact that, you know, there are certain elements of this movie that are far better than the other ones is not saying much at the same time. I still, like, there are certain aspects of it, especially when people were just walking around with it, I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, oh, this is one thing that I have to say that we haven't brought up nearly enough in all the movies.
Oh, yeah.
The score.
The score.
Never shuts the fuck up.
We did mention it before, I forget which movie, but it is seriously distracting, especially in a film.
It never stops.
In padding. If you're not trying to pay attention to the visuals, if you're not trying to pay attention to... It's not saying anything either, then the score just kind of blends in with how it's just generally bad. But if it's if it's making an attempt to do something, but the score is still going on, you just want to shut up for 5 seconds so you can just enjoy the story.
And the problem with this, the score is so ungodly inappropriate. At so many points.
Do you think that you can just do that? I'm going to stab you, I'm going to kill you.
We expected like the room music to start popping up in the middle of the scenes that have like the fucking... it's like a loading screen with like the clouds and whatnot.
They didn't do that for this one. That was Hercules.
That happened so much too. But still, yeah, there was no like random shots of scenery or the house and whatnot that did not necessarily accompany what came before or what came after it. So
they just needed to shut up for 10 seconds.
They did. They needed to shut the music up. And like, all right.
I think the one time...
So there's a little bit of relation between me before you say that. Like, if any of you have seen my film Suburban Children, a lot of that movie has an underscore of music to it. But still, there are plenty of points in which that it's quiet. Because I knew that you can't have a fucking score going the whole time or else you lose all connectivity with the audience.
Okay. For mine real quick, the one time that it really stood out was there was a point where they realized that what's-his-face wasn't actually cremated or something, and there weren't never ever any ashes because his urn was completely empty. Because that's where they thought to look for the key. Long story. But, at that point, it was like, God, something's going down here. We should probably leave. No, man, we should. At that point, the score was just like above everybody else.
Yeah, you couldn't really hear it.
The score just needed to either tone it down or shut the fuck up.
You need to go away. And that's another thing too. That's the way it is with so many of these films. Mm-hmm. They're not trapped in this fucking house.
That's horror movies as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, like certain horror movies you are.
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods.
There's literally a force field around you. You cannot leave.
Spoiler. But at the same time, like, you get movies like The Conjuring and whatnot, where the spirit is trapping you in the house, and because of because of circumstances around the event, you can't leave the house, or else something drastic will happen. Somebody's going to die, or something like that. This movie...
Why can't they leave the house, Matt?
Because they just don't.
No, the answer is greed.
Yeah, because they just don't.
Yeah, well, that too.
Like, I also had a point when like, a bunch of them were like, this is such a joke. Like, all this guy's like, I don't know about this stuff and whatnot. We should just leave. I'm like, oh, there's a point where he was trying to call the cops. And,
oh, my God.
The dial tone's like, all right, no bars.
No. Literally everybody in the house is dead. Everybody.
By this
Alan,
point.
Nero, Lou Ferrigno, and Hayden.
People.
Those were characters.
People.
They were all dead. All that was left, as far as they knew, was Bess the girl and relatable hero character.
Even though he turned out to be the main villain.
That's all it was. That was the only people left. And so what did they do? Phone's dead. I got no bars.
You can't walk outside.
At that point...
You can't drive to the police station and let them know what's going on.
I'm not trying to give this film credit. I feel like they might have eventually gotten to that point, but at that exact same moment, they heard Hayden, the bookworm character, going, from the kitchen.
True. Okay,
so,
I can give him that much, but at the same time, it doesn't excuse the 2 or 3 scenes beforehand where they said we should go and they say no.
Also, it's entirely not excusable. As soon as you find out that Bess is like totally willing to kill over what's been going on, he runs behind the couch rather than trying to get out the door. He runs behind the couch and is like, "Yep, this is safe."
He runs around that couch. He grabs the fire poker. He runs behind the couch and hides and waits for her to come there. And he he doesn't whip her. He just like pussy whips her.
Leave.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, and these any intelligence that these characters have is sadly not used in this film.
No.
The actors
they're
not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not horrible considering the material that they had to work with. They weren't horrible. Lou Ferrigno Jr. actually was probably one of the more convincing people in the fucking movie.
I mean, he was
his death scene was flaccid as shit, but
everybody's death scene was flaccid as shit. The only person who had an interesting death scene, really, I think... No, actually, I can't think of one.
I think of the only person who had the interesting death scene only because of the angle they chose with the first guy who got killed.
Yeah, that was an interesting...
Because that was a really interesting setup.
I don't think you were looking at it at the time. Yes, the angle they chose was great, but what literally happened, she took the knife, and whereas most people, they're like, yeah, and then cut around to the outside of the house. She went, and it landed next to him. It was... I'm not even joking.
You done fucked up. I mean, like, there's also this one death scene where she walks up right behind him. She pulls the knife up, and then she waits for him to turn around. She stands like this, and then she goes like this, and then it cuts like half a second after she goes down. You miss the point of perfect timed editing, people.
Which is the editor's fault. It's not the actor's fault. It's not the script's
It's also the director's fault for not catching that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, like, to be honest, actually, I'm an editor, I'm a director. If you're not looking for the timing of your cuts, then you're not doing your job right.
Honestly, I'm just happy this came after Hercules Unbound.
This was a death.
So happy.
This was a death and it step up from Hercules Unbound, which is interesting because according to the reviews we've read and according to the ratings we've seen, this is actually considered lower rated than Hercules Unbound.
Yeah. Weird.
Actually, no.
No?
Remember, this time when we actually watched, this is actually considered to be 0.2 stars higher
out of 5
than Hercules Unbound. So it's 1.8 instead of 1.6.
Take all the stars that you can possibly have, divide it by 5. divided by 5. That's how much you got.
Divided by 5, divided by 5, divided by 5, divided by 5.
I think that's like 0.0.
5 years is like a big thing with these people.
125. Yeah.
I mean, I just...
You good?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's not really too much when it comes down to bullet points because we've gone over everything, really.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to... I mean, usually we say, like, one good thing that we thought about, but we've said...
We've said all the good things. It's like... It's not great, it's not good, but at the same time, it's so much more competent than every single one of the other films. Up until this point, the benchmark for the better quality of these movies was Billy the Kid.
And that sucked.
That sucked. It had that putrid yellow overtint to it. None of it made sense, and it had a supernatural element that made absolutely no point.
This one did go blue again.
Well, we said that.
We did?
Yeah, in the very beginning it went blue.
Well, I'm saying it again.
It did go blue after that,
It's going blue throughout it. This time it's because of
flashbacks.
Flashbacks, and also it went blue every once in a while when she was going to kill someone.
Yes.
Or he was going to kill someone. Whatever it was that was killing someone.
But, like, and that's another thing, too. It also... This, actually, I didn't have a problem with. And it can also be horribly misused.
Oh.
This is what I call the Rashomon Complex. If any of you guys know what Rashomon is, it's the Akira film. The Akira Kurosawa film.
It's the one with Greymon, right?
What?
Pikachu?
Shut your fucking mouth. But this film is famous. It was the movie that not internationally got Akira Kurosawa known. It brought Japanese cinema into the limelight and all that jazz. Is because of the way that it was done. It took the same story and told it through several different points of view, and you always got a different version. So the first time we see a couple of these different flashbacks, it's told from one person's point of view.
For you youngins out there, I guarantee, like, every single Disney Channel show has had an episode of this at least once.
Oh, definitely.
It's just such a plot that's so
it's been used in so many films. Have you ever seen the Jet Li movie Hero?
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the exact same formula. This one, not necessarily literally to the whole of the Rashomon Complex.
No, it only happens once.
Yeah, well, twice, really.
Yeah.
For the very opening and also the shower section and whatnot.
Oh, that's right.
Like, only twice did they go back to a flashback that they already had and it was told in a different way that revealed more information. It was actually done relatively okay. I can't really complain too much about it more beyond the fact that it was just, it's a 13-13 film.
Good job.
But this movie, for me, set the benchmark of the quality of the 13-13 film.
This is how good because before it was how bad can it get. But now we know David Dakota has the potential. Like, I feel like a teacher who's, like, trying to help the students. Like, look, you have potential.
Look,
you've gotten A's before. What's wrong? You've gotten lazy over time.
I mean, this is definitely David Dakota's house. This guy has made a fortune making these sleazy B horror films and whatnot.
Or he inherited something. I don't know.
Probably.
He does do a lot of films involving inheritance.
Yeah, a lot of inheritance, a lot of, like, trust funds, people getting money when they're 18 and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe that's his dad's house and he inherited it. Who knows? Yeah. But, I don't know. David Dakota, answer our questions. Come on and do an Ask Me Anything on ShitFlix instead of Reddit.
As long as you're not angry with us.
I mean, like, you have every right to be angry with us, considering how, much we rip into your films, but at the same time, it's not like I make exactly the greatest movies in the world either.
Everyone who watches, get this to him somehow. Anyway, final thoughts. Go for it.
Final thoughts and whatnot. This was a good day for me, considering how this was not necessarily at all the worst film of the 13-13 series we've seen. It definitely set the benchmark higher for quality of these damn films, and my hope, which is definitely not going to be the case, my hope was that instead of seeing how bad the movies can possibly get, we could possibly see how good the movies have the potential to be. I mean, it's still better. I mean, I still have some hope. This movie gave me a little bit more hope for the rest of them. It gave me enough motivation to get through the rest of these movies.
You know what it's going to do? It's going to give you the hope. It's going to say, you see that?
And it's going to crush you even more. It's going to take, like, this, all right.
Hold on. I want to know real quick, because you usually don't say it. Would you recommend this particular one?
I still wouldn't go so far as to say I would recommend this, but if someone came up to me and asked about any movies in the 1313 series, I would tell them that this is definitely the less painful.
That we know of so far.
That we know of. That we've watched up to this point.
Okay. As for me, yeah, I was so happy. I was so happy seeing that it wasn't shit. Like that opening bit that we did with the knife and all that. That's how I expected this movie to go, but it ended up being okay. And I was so happy. And I really hope that he doesn't kill us with the next one, whatever.
He probably will.
So, in the way of this particular film, it's... I don't know if it's just because my standards are low or I haven't seen a good film recently, but it's okay. It's not great. It's not even good.
It's bearable.
Okay. There are moments that just made me laugh out loud, honestly.
There was a couple of one-liners in there that were kind of cute.
Oh, no, I was saying laugh out loud, and it's sheer ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, that
like
too.
The fire poker.
Oh, that definitely, too, yeah.
Yeah, there were a few one-liners also. Some characters are more relatable than others, but that's typical of any film. Honestly, I'm okay with this film. That being said, I'm on Matt's side. I wouldn't recommend it, per se. It didn't do anything terrible enough that you should see it. It didn't do anything great enough that you need to see it. It's just kind of riding the line the whole time. And, yeah, if someone asked me, hey, for some reason, I have to watch one 1313 film, what should I watch? I would tell them Cougar Cult because I hate them. But then, if I like them, I would say, go ahead and watch Night of the Widow. So, yeah, that's...
And also, I'm sorry, a couple of these titles that... I'm just going to throw this at the end here. A couple of these titles are complete total rip-offs of other movies.
Oh, for sure.
Like, think about this. Hercules Unbound is obviously a reference to Prometheus Unbound, which is legitimately a really good play. Mm-hmm. This title, at least personally for me, Night of the Widow sounds way too much like Night of the Hunter, which is a really great horror film. Not a conventional one, obviously, by any stretch of the imagination, but you know the whole, love, hate written on the hand stain, that's where that movie came, that's where it came from. It came from that film.
Well, here, let me ask you then real quick. What's our next film on the agenda?
Bigfoot Island.
It's definitely taken from Snake Island.
Then again, you can say that about so much and whatnot. And the funny thing is, Snake Island is still our most watched review up to this point.
Crazy. All right, so that's it.
Review
done.
Did you also know that the guy who was the main character in Snake Island also was the guy with the really ridiculous blonde curly hair from Carrie?
Anyway,
random tidbit of facts.
So yeah, Bigfoot Island next up, and we will muscle through. Hopefully, it won't crush our soul like all these other ones have been doing.
Yeah. I mean, you're really hoping that this one isn't going to be the kindergartner with,
Shut the fuck up. Alright? We're not getting in trouble again for your goddamn insensitive comments. Okay.
Cerebral palsy.
God!
Old white boys want some more, it's tricky.